Hey everybody, Leah Klett here with the Christian Post, and my guest today is actress Mackenzie Mauzy. She stars in the brand new film Sun Moon, now on PureFlix. Mackenzie, congratulations on Sun Moon. It's such a fun watch. I laughed, my heart was warmed. What a
Aw.
movie this is.
Oh, thank you so much. We had such a fun time making it, and I just watched it again last night, and I got a little teary just because it was a long process and such a cool adventure and great relationships built. And I'm just proud of everyone for making it happen.
We'll share a little bit about how you got involved with it. This movie is unique in that it's dealing with so many different things. It's dealing with faith, it's dealing with heartbreak, it's dealing with hope, it's dealing with relationship.
Yeah.
Talk about your journey to getting involved with this.
So I got the script, and my agents were like, if you respond to it, then put yourself on tape and we'll send it to the producers. And I read it, and I really felt connected to Kelsey for a lot of reasons. I think this journey from feeling like you're at maybe your lowest point and having to kind of find out who you are on the other side of that heartbreak and loss, and also redefine your relationship with God in the process, and really find your strength on the other side of something really hard, I think was a good story to tell. And I think a lot of people experience things like that. I mean, maybe not getting left at the altar, but having to navigate, like, coming back from feeling at a really low point, where there's a lot of potential for sinking into kind of depression and just feeling like, you know, no one cares and what's my life and all of those things. Also, I have a big travel bug, so when I saw that they were intending to shoot in Taiwan for a lot of it, I got really excited. And then when I met Sydney, the director, I just felt like we connected, and I felt like I could trust her. And I think that was really important for me, especially knowing what the whole process would entail with the quarantine and everything in Taiwan. So yeah.
Well, talk about that aspect too, because this movie highlights the fact that when you are hurting, when your heart is broken, you need community, you need these people around you. Talk about the power that comes with this message, especially at a time when we are, coming out of COVID, coming out of a time of isolation. It can be hard to get back into that. Mental illness is on the rise as a result. Talk about these themes.
I think that she takes this leap of faith, as is, that line is said a few times in the film. I think part of it is she needed to just get out of her environment. I think she had instinctually felt like, I'm just going to sink into this. I need to figure out, what God's plan is for me now, and definitely dropped herself into a completely different world with children that she was responsible for teaching and wanting to develop relationships with, and then this unexpected relationship with Horace. I think sometimes we have a very clear sort of like view about what we think our life should look like. And I've just learned a lot in my life that sometimes that can be limiting. And so I do think sometimes it's hard things that we go through that it open up our minds and our perspectives to things that we might not have seen otherwise. And community is so important. And I think she really just had to figure out how to connect with people, because there was also this language barrier in Taiwan. So it kind of forced her to step outside of herself and just keep putting herself out there until she figured out how to make it work.
Well, one scene I love is when the students ask Kelsey to help them perform a play based on the biblical book of Ruth. And of course,
Yeah.
Ruth has such an interesting story herself in the
Yeah.
Bible. Talk about the significance of this.
I, I think just understanding it's another pathway into this theme of God working through tragedy. And I think she has a little bit of resistance to going to chapel and all of these things right after she basically loses her relationship. And I think part of her is kind of mad at God in a way. And maybe she's mad at herself. She's just navigating a lot of emotions. And I think a lot of times when you see a story through children, I feel like, just like going through this process of figuring out how to tell this story in like sort of simplified ways because of the language barrier, and also just figuring out a play that would work in that amount of time. I think that the meaning behind it can almost be like even stronger. And it was associated also with Horace's story, the other teacher, and how he lost his family in the earthquake. And I think there are just all these little reminders to Kelsey throughout the film that like there's still a purpose on her life, and there's still a plan, and it's one of those things that I think you might not understand is happening in the moment if you're going through it personally, but looking back, it's like you can see God's hand through all of these different circumstances. And yeah, I think that it's also pretty funny just the way that the kids kind of interpret certain parts of it, and go sleep at his feet. And we were actually watching them perform it, and it was pretty funny as well.
Mackenzie, what encouragement do you want to offer viewers who may be like Kelsey, uncertain of life, uncertain of God's plan for them? What encouragement do you want to offer them to keep holding on to hope?
I think that so many times in my life when I've experienced loss, and I have lost people too soon in my family, and heartbreak, and just getting to a point at my lowest points when you can feel like is there like what is the purpose, what's the point, like this is like life can be really sad. Going through that and sort of leaning on people that you love, I think it just really changes your perspective. And I don't want it to sound trite because it's complicated and everyone's situations are so different. But I think that sometimes when you're at your lowest point, if you keep moving forward, God works in ways that are completely beyond your imagination. And I there's so many things in my life where I thought, I'm just going to stay here and do this simple thing and try to make this work. And God had like such a bigger plan for me. And I just wouldn't have been able to see that if I didn't just keep moving forward. And I think that even when I didn't feel like it personally, I always had this feeling that I could hold on to, and this belief that I could hold on to in my heart that God had a plan for me, even that was for my good. Even when you can't see it. And I think that it's in those hard times and in those times of loss that you really start to your eyes start to open to how he's working, and the love in your life and the people that he's brought into your life. So there's beauty on the other side of it, the sort of after the storm. I love that Mumford and Sons song, but it's hard to see in the moment. And I think it's really important to just lean on people and keep moving forward. And, maybe like go to a different country and teach English to some Taiwanese kids.
Hey, there's all different solutions, whatever works for you. If it's another country, that's great.
Yeah, no, I think what I think is just like getting out. For me, I love to travel to get out of my own head. Sometimes it really just changes my perspective, and when you're forced to kind of figure out how to communicate, I think that can be really powerful. Or being on the top of a mountain and just realizing like there's so much more out there than this one thing that I'm going through, and just trusting that there's a purpose to it all.
Mackenzie, this movie is clean, it's sweet, it's funny, it's for families. Talk about the importance of viewers going to support movies like this. Why do we need to put our money where our mouth is if we want to see stuff like this on the big screen?
Yeah, I think that the more that you support these kinds of movies, the more big investors and big studios are willing to make them. I think I loved the script, and I was really thankful to be a part of it. I think that wholesome movies are like the quality is getting better and better, but just like realistically, studios and investors don't want to put the money up for a film that they don't think people are going to see or share with their friends. So I think that's one of the reasons that it is important, and I think that it'll be inspiring and hopefully uplifting to people who see it. And the more that people engage and sign up for, I guess there is a free trial, but I think the more that outlets like Sony Affirm will be able to create films like this.